Hi, my name is Jen Bergren. I create courses and other educational content using human-centered operations topics to help people succeed in their careers. This includes a business process documentation course and a RevOps bootcamp for HubSpot Academy. Previously, I was head of operations at Remotish, a HubSpot technical agency. Today, I want to share the 5 most important things a business leader should do to set up systems, procedures, and people to prepare a business to scale. My 5 tips are going to relate to focusing on your people first, which also relates to human-centered systems and procedures. And when I say human-centered, I mean focusing on people first before focusing on tools or tech or things most people love to talk about. So my first tip about setting up a business to prepare to scale is to create a culture of transparent communication. Share information across departments and levels of roles. Make information visible in shared communication channels, accessible documentation, shared project management systems, and more, as opposed to a culture that defaults to unrecorded calls or private messages as the main form of communication. Give people access to information to understand business decisions, keep people informed of changes before they read about them in the news or on social media, and foster psychological safety so people feel comfortable asking questions to better understand all the changes that will happen as a company is scaling. Though it may feel vulnerable to share so much information with your team members, it will be much harder to grow your business if you're not retaining your team members, if you're constantly retraining replacement team members instead of doing more impactful work for scaling. Change management is going to be easier if there's already a good culture of communication. And as a company that celebrated remote asynchronous work enough to rename itself Remotish, we spent a lot of time focusing on creating and refining these shared communications processes and teaching them to new team members. My second tip about preparing a business to scale is to document your processes and set up a system to keep your documentation updated and shared, spreading out those responsibilities to empower your team members to own their work. Though documentation is a subset of the transparent communication culture in the above point, it needs to be emphasized further, with so many companies saying they don't have time to perform this critical step. You are not going to be able to scale if the business processes are not documented. So enable your people with the information they need to perform processes consistently each time with the same quality standard across the team so you can achieve proven, predictable, and repeatable results. Otherwise, people are going to be spending their time trying to remember what they did last time, operating off of incorrect and incomplete information, or constantly answering and asking the same questions to other people. You won't be able to improve your processes to make them scalable if you can't see and agree on how processes currently work or how they should work. You won't be able to effectively or efficiently test any new steps of a process or new processes if you're not documenting your experiments to know what you've tried before, what you've researched before, and if you're not able to understand the outcome of those past efforts and how to repeat successes and not repeat mistakes, you won't be able to scale. There are so many reasons for documenting. I would say this is my number 1 tip, but if you don't have a transparent communication culture in place, it is very hard to make documentation habits sustainable and useful across the entire company. My third tip about setting up a business to scale may seem unusual, but stick with me. Make sure you have clear career paths and clearly defined roles and responsibility for each team member. Define what it takes for each person to get a promotion and make sure it is the same promotion criteria for the same level of role all across the company. This includes defining the leadership roles, with leaders modeling the behavior they want to see from the people who would earn a promotion. As mentioned in that first tip, be transparent. Make these job descriptions and promotion criteria accessible to everyone in order to understand each other's responsibilities. Amidst the high stress and constant change while scaling, team members knowing there is a clearly defined path to be rewarded for their effort could be the difference between retaining or losing your top talent at this critical time. These job descriptions also help direct people to the right person when they have a question that's not answered by the documentation. Clear job descriptions also lead to better hiring decisions, which is important because one bad hire can cost your company a lot of time, a lot of money, while preventing progress towards your scaling goals. My fourth tip about setting up a business to scale. This will likely be a lot of respondents' number one answer, though I think the above steps are more critical. But make sure your tech and data are integrated, streamlined, shared, and trustworthy, so everyone can make accurate business decisions using forecasting, reporting, and more. This can fall under the people category because you're enabling people with accurate information and useful tools. Also, of course, document how it all works so it is easy for people to fix any problems and make improvements. Making gut feeling decisions is not a good strategy, especially as the company grows, as it will be impossible for one person to track everything in their head to make an informed decision. Many team members are going to be responsible for smaller and smaller parts of the business compared to in a small business where people may be working cross-functionally in many roles at the same time. So their quote-unquote gut decisions are more informed by the big picture. The role of tech usually gets the most focus when talking about operational scalability, partly because it is a more tactical aspect to plan. It may be easier to plan, easier to wrap your head around compared to the people side of the business, and partly because there are tech companies that want to sell their products by dominating the conversations about operations and scale. On a similar note, I predict AI will probably be the number one response of most people answering the scaling questions this year, but that is not one of my top 5 tips. Getting back to our main topic, if all the above tips sound like a lot of work, you're right. So why not hire someone to help you put these plans into place? That brings about my 5th tip about scaling a business. Hiring an operations person or team to help you with all of this above work before you think about scaling, instead of the common practice of waiting until you're big enough to justify this expense for this role. An investment should not be thought of as an expense. A good general ops person will take less time to set up, test, and iterate on these operational scalability foundations compared to hiring that same talented person or team after you attempt and fail to grow the business, because your systems, processes, and people are a big mess that ops would have to investigate, untangle, and solve before anyone in the company can make progress towards business growth goals. Invest in operations people first before attempting to scale. Setting up for scale also involves a lot of work with your product or service offering and other aspects of your business, such as customer service or success processes to make sure you can serve more customers using fewer team members and that past ratio of team member to customer, while maintaining or improving customer satisfaction and referrals. That could be 5 tips in itself. I'm going to leave that topic for a customer-focused leader to discuss. They're probably going to have more relevant advice about that aspect of scaling. I will stick to the human-centered operations advice. I would also love to hear your advice for what to set up to help a business scale. Please leave a comment on this video. That concludes this video about the 5 most important things a business leader should do to set up systems, procedures, and people to prepare a business to scale. Please check out the comments of this video for links to an interview and possible blog with more information on the subject of scaling.